Hi, everybody. VIP Pat here. Well, the St. Louis Blues 25-26 season came to an end the other day in Utah. Blues had 86 points this year, was a drop off from last. And I would say a pretty disappointing season overall. Robert Thomas had fewer points than he had last year. He came on at the end. The whole team came on at the end. Jordan Kyrou probably had the steepest drop. He dropped from 70 points last year, where he scored 36 goals, had 36 assists. This year, he had half the goals, 18 goals, 27 assists for a total of 45 points. That's a steep drop. Jakey Neighbors, he missed. He went 23 games without a goal from before the Olympic break till after the break. His point totals were about the same year over year. Cam Fowler, another kind of steep drop. He had last season 36 points, and they picked him up at the end of December, I believe, beginning of January, something like that. For the entire season this year, he was not the offensive threat that he was last. He only had 30 points this year. Pareko dropped by 12 goals. What else? Pareko had last year, he had 36 points, this year 18, half. Uh, Injuries had something to do with it. Robert Thomas had a leg injury, and he kind of played through it, but he had to have surgery. He missed 17 games, and the Blues did not fare very well when he was out of the lineup. I don't have the exact stats on that, but it was apparent that they missed him terribly. Jimmy Snuggerud, he had a kind of a weird wrist injury that required surgery, and he missed 12 games. Uh, I mean, he did pretty well, uh, way up there in the rookie stats. So he'll be a force going forward. Uh, Hollywood, Dylan Holloway, he missed 23 games in two stretches. So he missed 15 games with a high ankle sprain. He came back for one game, and then he was back out for a total of 23 games. So 15 and 8. Uh, when these guys come back from injury, they're not really top speed right away. They got to kind of work into it. So these injuries, well, were not an excuse. The reality of part of what happened this year. The goaltenders. Oh, my goodness, the goaltenders. Joel Hofer, for the entire season, really put himself in a position to be the number one goaltender. But he started out terribly. The first couple of months of the season, both goaltenders. And the most curious thing happened this season when Jordan Binnington played in the net. The team in front of him seemed to not know how to play or didn't want to help him or whatever the case was. There were bad games defensively in front of Binnington, and they left him hanging out to dry. So, he had a career bad season. I think he kept his head up, and, he played as well as he could considering the situation. And after both of the two of them came out of their funk, uh, they played pretty well. And Joel Hofer played outstanding toward the end. But here's the bottom line. Going into next season, the burning question is player X before the Olympic break going to be the player we see next season? Or is it going to be the player after the Olympic break? The same can be said about the team. Will the team play? Will they start slow next year? This is 2 years in a row that this has happened. We're all scratching our heads about this. Where was this incredible performance of the last 25 games during the first part of the season? So the Blues are going to have to look in the mirror, each one of them, including the coaches, and determine how they're going to get off to a much better start than they did the last couple of years. And, with all this said, I think it was 3 games left is when they were eliminated. So, they were in it, albeit the final wild card spot, but they were in it, toward the end. They made themselves relevant by coming out of the Olympic break with the fire that they needed at the beginning of the year. So the 26-27 St. Louis Blues, it'll be very interesting. You've got July 1st, Alex Steen taking over as a general manager. You've got the draft coming up. Big doings at the draft. The Blues are going to have a high draft choice, not quite as high as a couple of years ago, but they're going to have 3 first-round draft choices. They'll have somewhere between number 8 and number 11 because there's going to be a lottery on May the 5th to determine where they stand as far as draft position. They've got a first-round draft choice that they acquired in the Justin Falk deal, somewhere around 15. So in the first 15 picks, they've got 2. In the Braden Shen trade, they got another first-round draft choice from the New York Islanders. That happens to be Colorado's pick that the Islanders had acquired. So it's likely to be 30, 31, 27, somewhere around there. But in the first round, the Blues will have 3 draft picks. It will be interesting to see if they decide to try to move up by using some of those extra assets. It'll also be very interesting to see who's here next year. Will Jordan Kyrou be here? Will Jordan Binnington be here? They tried to trade Parayko. He didn't want to go. I'm kind of tongue-tied here as to going down the list. I would say the biggest priority right now would be to sign Dylan Holloway, who's a restricted free agent. But whatever happens, when the season starts, or the preseason, when they start training, they better be ready. There's going to be some new coaches because Claude Julien and Mike Weber, their contracts were up. They were not renewed. So Jim Montgomery is going to be able to get some of his guys in there. Those guys were not hired, so to speak, by Jim Montgomery. So next season, it'll be here before you know it. And I guess I'm going to have to put on my other sports hat, the St. Louis Cardinals hat. And they've started pretty well. But that'll be for another discussion. Let's go Blues.